Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Cop Talk. It's Thursday. You can be doing anything else in the world, but you're tuned in to listen to myself and two of our guests speak about the EFL Cup 2024. So before we continue, I'd like to welcome Dr. Blake. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm well, man. I am well. I am proud, and yeah, can't wait to talk about some of our young players today, man.
Oh, wonderful. And I'd also like to welcome one of our guests as well. Billy. Billy's been on the show lots of times. He's also been on other shows speaking about football. He's an historian, not just for Chelsea, but globally. Good evening, Billy. How are you, sir?
The opposite of Dr. Blake. The opposite, man. I'm not looking forward to this one. I'm not looking forward to talking about the players. I'm not looking forward to talking about the cup. But you know what? You've got to have a Chelsea fan here to face it, and it's me once again. So.
Oh, no. It's good. Listen, I think the main thing is that we know that you come in peace. We're a show that, as I said before, we welcome other people's knowledge and content. So from my part as a host, well, I'm going to take it easy with you, Billy. Right? So before we continue, it's just an overview before we divulge in any form of statistics, player performances, spotlight, XYZ. Dr. Blake, were you able to watch the game, and what was your review of the performance?
Of course, man.
from Liverpool?
So I think the first thing I was thinking, okay, how are we going to approach it? Are we going to gegenpress? Are we going to sit off and maybe be a bit more conservative? And yeah, we certainly went for it, which I guess makes sense. That's how we tend to play. And then when Gravenberch got injured, I was just like, whoa, what does Klopp do now? And I think the fact that he stuck to his principles, it then made it a much more of an open game. But in saying that, the first Chelsea chance comes and Gravenberch is actually still on the pitch. So they still had that threat, I guess, on the counter-attack. But I just felt it was a game that we tended to control possession and control, if you like. I feel like we controlled the pace of the game, but then Chelsea were very dangerous on the break. And then obviously in that last 20 minutes, I think we would have to be honest and say in that last 20 minutes of normal time, it was Chelsea's game to win. And because like, you know, it's like you've got a team who's kind of controlling possession, and then you've got a team who's then going to have chances on the counter. In that last 20 minutes, Chelsea had way too many chances, and we weren't able to control them. But it makes sense. Look, the injuries, the fatigue, the young players coming on. But yeah, certainly a game that I'd say that it's interesting. We won the game, but I think Chelsea also lost the game as well. And I think sometimes it's either or, whereas I felt that actually Chelsea had the opportunities to actually win the game, but they just couldn't take their chances. And there was some great goalkeeping as well. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a really good cup final, and appreciate Billy for coming on. He's gonna talk next. I just feel when you win these games, the key thing to be is to be gracious in victory and not kind of rub it over the person who's lost. So yeah, I actually thought it was a really good cup final. I can see why Chelsea are frustrated, but equally I think they played their part and they've got the potential to go on to bigger and better things, man.
Brilliant assessment, and I appreciate that. Billy, where did you manage to watch the game? Was it with friends? Was it with fellow Chelsea supporters? Where did you manage to watch the game?
I was actually surrounded by Liverpool supporters in a live stream that I was on, doing a live reacts to it, and we did a live watch along to it. 3 hours long, the podcast or the episode went on for. And yeah, it weren't the greatest. I can't pretend like it was.
I mean, it will be interesting. And as you said, you know, first of all, we appreciate you coming into the show. It would be good to be able to get a feedback from someone that supports Chelsea and your viewpoint on the game. Enlighten us with your viewpoints from the EFL Cup Final.
Yeah, so I mean, with all due respect to Liverpool, it was Chelsea's game to lose. I feel that it was a close affair, and especially in the last 20 minutes, we were pushing on. We were getting more chances. You know, we both had offside goals that were disallowed. We both hit the woodwork. Chelsea and Liverpool were neck and neck, in my opinion. It was definitely a fair assessment to say that Liverpool dictated the speed of the game and the actual game itself. But when it came to the break, Chelsea looked more alive that way. I think the biggest issue that I could say is, the extra time was the part that killed us off. You know, Pochettino changing it. You know, like I said, the last 20 minutes, we looked like we were deadly. We looked like, well, not deadly, but we looked like we were breaking. We were getting loads of chances, and I feel like it would have went in our favour if we were to carry on that way into extra time. But Poch thought differently and decided to sit back, and we ultimately lost from that standpoint of it. But it was Chelsea's to lose at the end, and we lost it.
Yeah. Good evening. Just want to mention there's a few people we can obviously see. Well, sorry, not obviously. There's a few people that are popping up in the comments as well. So I just want to welcome to the show. Good evening, Vinny. Vinny has not only appeared on a panel for Cop Talk, but he tunes in every week. So just want to welcome you, sir. What a time to be a Liverpool FC fan. Cannot disagree. I think everything at the moment is quite positive. What it bodes for the future, I think we also need to remain humble, as Dr. Blake was saying as well, and everything's good at the moment. We got Mr. B coming to join us in from the United Gender. I said Billy's been on the Friday takeaway as well, so we know this is all tongue in cheek. Mr. B, big up Stony guests, and Billy. I'm not going to say what it says before, but it's all love and warmth. So, Preds, good evening, sir. How are you on this Thursday evening?
Can I just say, Pred, sorry, I'm just going to jump in just very, very quickly. Can I just say, everyone, Pred's beard lineup is looking sharp, my guy. Hey, Preds. Yeah, the man came on the camera. I was just like, no, Pred's beard's looking all right. Like, I need to go Turkey myself, man, to get my team filled out so I can line up like Preds. Anyway, sorry, Preds. Go true.
It's the Victory. It's the Victory shape up, right?
Yeah. Right. Firstly, thank you very much. I mean, my barber would be. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. My barber will be absolutely delighted that you've noticed the shape up and trim watch. Can you see? Trim it. Very well, thank you very much. And Billy, how you doing, son?
Wrong way. That way.
Is that it? No, but I'm all right. All good to be back on. All good to be on the show.
Excellent. So I know when we spoke last week, you said that you'll probably be traveling a fair distance away from home to watch the game. We don't need to disclose where you were, but were you in good company? And what was your assessment of the game if you managed to watch it?
I was in great company. I was. My wife was at After Sport, and she was like, she actually was supporting Chelsea for the first time ever. But you know what? I thought that I think the back four marshalled the game really, really well. There was a few chances for both teams. And in all fairness, getting to extra time, I'm thinking Chelsea they're gonna kind of run all over us because we had no choice but to put on the younger players. And yeah, it was just a bit of a strange one. We kind of got galvanised. And to be fair, I've got to say all plaudits to all the Liverpool LFC supporters who were at Wembley on Sunday because they sung for about 10 minutes, right? And it felt like I'm doing it now. The hairs were coming up on my body, like it was all standing up, and to sit and watch the TV and listen to the Liverpool supporters sing continuously for 10 minutes in extra time. That surely must have galvanised some of the players. Absolutely galvanised. And I took all plaudits to all the supporters who attended at Wembley on Sunday. Fantastic.
Brilliant. I mean, moving into the final, Billy, you would have you're going to have an insight clearer to Chelsea's player selection, players that would possibly have been injured. And one of the themes that's been reoccurring about any of the youth players that can possibly have taken part for Poch's selection for the final. I am going to acknowledge what Dr. Blake has just said. I'm just going to project or do a screen share of the teams that were put out in the first half. And Billy, if it's okay, just like to give me a spotlight on the players or player, your man of the match for Chelsea, and whether you were comfortable with the lineup. Okay, so I'm just going to present the screen now. Okay, are you in view there, gents?
Yeah.
Visual? All right, so Billy, we can see on the left-hand side, Chelsea started in a 4-2-3-1. Is this a team that you would have been comfortable Chelsea starting with? And who I just wanted to give me a spotlight on a Chelsea player that you thought was, regardless of the outcome of the result, who was your spotlight player?
I probably would have gone with Gallagher for both ends of the pitch. I feel like it was a tough midfield to come up against, but I feel like Gallagher was doing well, you know, having that chance he was unfortunate with, and you know, defending as well. I feel like he was just all over the pitch, putting in 100% like usual, and yeah, he was probably one of my standouts. But then obviously I've got to sing the praises to Petrovic, the keeper, because he kept us out a good few times with some good saves. So yeah, Gallagher would be mine, but a special mention to Petrovic as well.
Brilliant. So Petrovic is what? He's 24. He's managed to stand in with. Was it an injury to Sanchez? Why Petrovic has been playing?
Yeah. So Sanchez got injured, and he was on the bench, but we still weren't fully 100% comfortable with him starting again yet. So we still went with Petrovic. But in my opinion, I think Petrovic has performed better since replacing Sanchez than when Sanchez was playing anyway. So I'd still keep Petrovic anyway, no question.
Perfect. So in terms of team selection moving into the final, is this a team that you would have been comfortable with? Could you or would you have liked to see any of your players actually have started?
I mean, it's a crazy thing to say, but I wouldn't be playing Chilwell. I think that, yes, his experience and that could have potentially led this team on, but I feel like he wasn't that great. You know, losing your head to a 20-year-old Bradley and the attitude he showed and stuff like that, that's not the sort of experienced or the leader that you want to be witnessing. I wouldn't have had him. I would have had Colwill out at left back and then a centre back to come in to replace him, whether that was Badiashile. I know Thiago Silva was injured just before the game. I can't remember if it was training where he's been caught injured, but yeah, I definitely would have had Colwill.
Really, is Badiashile injured, or is he just not selected?
From what I remember, I'm fairly certain he was on the bench.
Okay.
Or he wasn't selected. Oh no, sorry, it was Chalobah. No, yeah, wrong one. Yeah, Chalobah was on the bench. I probably would have played Chalobah and Disasi and then Colwill at left back. I feel like Colwill, with his centre back mindset, I feel like he would have stayed a bit deeper. So I feel like it would have offered a lot more defensive stability, you know, with Elliott and Bradley knocking on. Sterling, we saw when we played you at Anfield, Bradley bombed on and got the goal, which ultimately was Sterling's fault for not tracking back. So maybe another centre back there would have helped a bit more defensively. Going forward further up the pitch, I think all the positions sort of speak for themselves. You know, Enzo and Caicedo, they're 100 million each. So to not play them, Poch's head would be off his shoulders from the fans if we didn't play them and the owner. Gallagher I've spoken about. Yeah, the rest of the lineup I feel comfortable with because that's what we've been playing all season. Am I happy with it? No, but that there's no one else. You know, that is what it is.
Yeah, I thought before I move on, and obviously I'm going to get some feedback from Dr. Blake and Preds as well. I thought and this is not tongue in cheek at all. All right, I'm just trying to be quite rational on this. I thought Gusto. It was the first time that I've really been able to watch a full game with Gusto play. I was quite impressed with him playing at right back as well. I'm not too sure. You mentioned about, and I do apologize if I mispronunciate the defender. It was Badishtili. He was actually injured, so I think that's why he wasn't able to actually feature. But yeah, I thought Gusto had a really good game in his final. I think he would have been up against Diaz on that side, wasn't it? Yeah, up against Diaz on one side. Yeah, Gusto had a good account for himself, so I thought that was quite impressive. Just moving on to Dr. Blake. You can obviously see the team selection that Klopp put out for Liverpool in the final. I think it's documented that we've had a series of injuries and XYZ. Is this the lineup that you would have seen? Were you comfortable with it? And what were your thoughts?
Yeah, this would have been, for me, like the only lineup that we could have played. I would have potentially experimented with the idea of Diaz going through the middle and maybe Cody going left, simply because I just feel that Cody can do a version of the false nine role where he drops in deep, and then obviously then the wide players then running behind. But I just think with Elliott playing through the middle, who doesn't have the legs to kind of do that role, I would rather a number 9 who's going to kind of threaten a bit more in behind. And I just felt, the balance of Elliott and Gakpo together didn't really quite work. And obviously then we have to take into account then the injuries that we then had as well, and then having to change it around. So for me, like we're talking small changes here. Gakpo and Elliott, and also as well, if we're thinking slightly outside of the box, and it wouldn't have been the day-to-day because of the midfield injuries, but I wouldn't be against seeing Gravenberch in that false 9 role. I wouldn't be against it. I just feel the way he shields the ball and looks to commit players, I can really see him disturbing the back line. But obviously, like, you're not going to do that like in a cup final. But yeah, for me, it was the strongest team that we could have played. Easy.
Perfect. Before I come on to Preds, it's just a quick feedback on yourself as well, Billy. It was such a tight call for that initial goal, which was deemed offside. I mean, that is a thin line in football at the moment as well. From your viewpoint, before the decision came to VAR, did you think it was a goal straight away, or was it something where you were holding your breath and hoping and knowing that the decision will go against Chelsea?
Due to VAR, I have extreme PTSD when it comes to celebrating goals. So I can't celebrate a goal because there may be a foul that's happened on the other side of the pitch about 20 minutes ago. So I can't celebrate a goal. I can't. But in my gut, I still feel it was onside. It's probably the blue tinted glasses that help me see between the lines. But yeah, I think that we were harsh on it. But at the end of the day, the result or the VAR that happened should not have determined whether we should have won or not, because I feel like we had the chance later on anyway. So
agreed.
I as much as I respect highlighting it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of us being able to win the game. Like, if that was our only chance of the game, then I could look at it and go, oh, well, why didn't we do this, or why didn't we? But there were chances that we did miss, and ultimately, sorry, drifting off, but I think the offside was an offside.
Fair play, Billy, man. Fair play. That's a fair. Like, for me, it was offside, but I'm not sure how football does it. But yes, I know offside is factual. Like, you are onside or you're offside. But when I think about how the rules of the game were created, I don't think it was meant to spot those types of offsides. Like, for me, it's almost like, does the player's position give him a clear advantage in terms of how the goal has been scored? So if he is, I don't know, 20 centimeters back further, it doesn't change the actual outcome. And I think, football needs to work out what they want from the offside rule, because I just think, those types of really, really tight ones, I don't see no advantage gained by the player being in that position. I just think, like the whole rules about offside were created to ensure that a player wasn't given a clear kind of advantage by standing beyond the defensive line. And I think football's kind of lost that with VAR. So,
yeah. I agree with you. And I think when the goal originated, my initial reaction when the goal went in, I just saw, right, goal, Liverpool have to regroup and get back in it. I didn't even think it was offside. And that's just my opinion. I just thought, right, it's a goal. Liverpool have to regroup and get on with it. And as you said, it's one of those things you can't get upset. If it was on a Chelsea side, you can't celebrate because you know that there's going to be some form of decision afterwards. But look, either way, it wasn't a goal. Liverpool are currently got 10 English League Winners' Cup. I think we won it back to back. 80, 81, 81, 82, 82, 83, 83, 84. So 10 times winners. Preds, what was your assessment of the game? Primarily the starting lineup for Liverpool. Is that the starting lineup that you would have seen? Were you happy with it? Would you have made any changes if you were Jurgen Klopp?
I think it was the only lineup available the strongest lineup available to us on Sunday. I wouldn't have changed anything. I think the starting lineup was spot on. I think the back four was absolutely solid in respect of VVD and Kanate, and done really, really well at centre half. Robinson is getting back from injury, but again, it was another solid performance. And then when Bradley was there at the back, he was doing okay. And then we had to have that little change because unfortunately we lost Gravenberch to the most clumsiest tackle that weren't even, it wasn't even brought back. He wasn't even yellow carded. It was absolutely, I wouldn't say it was a red card. It was definitely a caution. And then to see him being stretched off was really, really upsetting. However, I think every team needs a water carrier, and Endo done that with grace and professionalism. Like, he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere, and he done really, really well. And alongside Mac 10 as well, who he started to show his not only his quality but his experience in game management as well. There was times we needed to slow down and slow it down. Elliott worked hard as usual. Diaz, he was in and out when he was there. There were sometimes when he was in the game. There were sometimes when he was out the game. Most disappointingly, I think Gakpo. I was disappointed with Gakpo. And we'll probably talk about Gakpo's performance again from last night as well. But yeah, he didn't. He as a forward, I thought he needs to do better. I think the Chelsea centre halves were good. I like Colwell. Is it Colwell?
Yeah, Colwell.
Class player.
I like. I really do like him, and how he's not in the England setup, I don't know. But
he's not Harry Maguire.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And it seemed like Gakpo made his life a little bit easy. And the times when he could have had a shot, when he should have shot and should have been on target. And yeah, at the moment he's going through a little bit of a period at the moment. I think Gakpo, not quite sure on with him, but ultimately, I think we defended really, really well. Chelsea were always going to get chances, and the one player that I was actually fearful about was Palmer.
Yeah,
I thought Palmer was going. I thought the more Chelsea got the grip of the game, the more dangerous Palmer became, and I think that Gallagher was a great foil for him as well. But you know what? I got all plaudits to Keller. Keller had an absolutely superb game, especially when there's one in the second half when everyone saw that Gallagher was on the left-hand side of the pitch and Palmer found him. Everyone knew he was there. He found him. And the swiftness of his movement coming out, closing the space down, and not giving Gallagher space to actually get his head up and made a save. He made a couple of double saves as well during the game. I mean, Billy talked about Petrovic, playing really, really well for them. I think equally Keller done really, really well for us. And it was one of both goalkeepers came off that pitch with what can I say, with great aplomb that they put their performances at the highest level.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Definitely, I think, so I think, that was actually quite a good assessment on that. I think, let me just stop this here and just bring Vic through. We just got a few more people that have jumped on the show. Vinny's obviously mentioned about Cole Palmer being a special talent. I think he's made a really good transition from Man City down to Chelsea. He probably weren't able to get the game time he would have liked from Man City, but he left it with a lot of silverware. And I think similar to Gallagher, I think they're really, really, really good talents as well. So it was interesting, obviously, seeing the different positions that Poch is currently playing Cole Palmer in. But Vinny, 100% agree with you on that. I really thought he had a good game, constant threat as well. Good evening, Mr. Go ahead, sir.
With Cole Palmer, right? I have only one negative thing about Cole Palmer. And if we're looking at what our team strives to be, we're looking at Man City, like with the titles, obviously with the breaches and whatnot. But if we're looking at the level of club we need to be to win the Premier League, ultimately, we're looking at Man City. And if you're looking at Man City happily getting rid of Cole Palmer for the price we got him for, which I think was like 35 or 45 million, he's a standout player at our club, and that shows the distance between Chelsea and Man City.
That's a good assessment. But if you think of it the other way as well, I think in the final, Cole Palmer, I think he started over in the right-hand midfield. I'm just going to show you something here, right? Hold on a minute. I'm just going to show you something here. We would have started out because he's just another player that could primarily be playing over on that side, and there's something that I just wanted to query with you about. So Palmer started over on the right-hand side, right midfield. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For Chelsea, what side it was Modric purchased to play on? Was it left or the right, or is he in a position to play on either flank? And bearing in mind, I think, and correct me, was it about £75 million for Modric?
Reminded me, mate. I didn't need to know the figure of
That's
that.
What I'm saying. So even if you think of, and this is what I was saying about Cole Palmer, in my opinion, being a really good player, Chelsea have invested a lot of money in Modric, and for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. And he can play on either flank. Yet Cole Palmer's come in, and Cole Palmer's taken Modric's position straight away.
Well,
interesting.
If I'm honest, I think Palmer has taken Sterling's place, and I think Sterling has taken Modric's. I think Sterling was initially going to be on our right flank, and then have Modric on the left. And I think Palmer, I would love to see more as a 10. I think the creativity he's got and the drive that we've seen down the flanks, we've seen it. I reckon we can see that through the middle. But yeah, I think with Modric, I think that everyone, including the manager, is frustrated with him. I think his feet are too fast for his head. I don't think he thinks. I think he just runs, and then once he's there, he hasn't thought that far ahead, and then issues arise. So yeah, I think it's better to have Palmer and Sterling. But I do understand your point. I think it's a concerning one, but that's what happens when you have multi-millionaire, billionaire owners who put themselves as the negotiators and the technical directors of the club to handle transfers. And that's what Todd Bowley did, and that's what we see. Shakhtar Donetsk wanted 90. Todd Bowley said no. They said 80, and then he went, yeah, all right then. and that's the transfer business that he's handled.
To be fair, that was a crazy bit of business, especially on the fact that he'd only had a very good 6 months, and I think 6 months prior to that, the asking price was about £25 million for him, which is a very. I think on the point you mentioned about Palmer, and the fact that he wasn't quite seen as good enough for Man City, and then Chelsea, he's like a standout player. I do think he has got a unique mentality, and by that I mean I think the vast majority of players, they need to feel comfortable, settled. There needs to be that sense of team spirit, and they need to like belong to something. And then I think when you have these things in place, then they tend to play better. I think because of Palmer's self-belief and just his unique mindset, I just think he's one of these players that you can put him in a terrible environment and he's just going to play football. It's like he's not relying on those types of cultural things for him to be able to perform. And I think so many of your other players who are just below par, I literally think it's because there's just not the right environment that's tactical, cultural, they're not full settled, and with that sense of team spirit. Whereas I think Palmer's able literally just to plug in and play. And when he's got so much self-belief, it's just like he can replicate his level irrespective of the system. And I just think so many players are relying on a very good system. One being Granit Xhaka. Like I know we're going off on a slight tangent slightly, but I mean, he's somebody who was mocked, had the Arsenal captaincy taken off him. The Arsenal fans had booed him. He threw the armband. He was seen as a liability, but yet he's had 2 consecutive seasons where he's been challenging for the title, and he's been a key player in that. This season, I think Leverkusen are one of the only unbeaten teams, or they might be the only unbeaten team around.
The only unbeaten, yeah, you're correct.
They're kind of 8 points clear. He has a key role for them, and I just think, you put good players in a very good system, and you can get a great outcome. And I just think with Chelsea, it's just too unstable for a lot of your players to kind of give their best. And I think you've got a lot of good players, but for some reason there isn't that structure for them to perform. Whereas I think with Liverpool are the polar opposite. And I think you think about some of the young players we brought off the bench who there's every chance they probably won't have, I'm not wanting to be too negative, but some of them may not even have Premier League careers. Like they might not even be good enough for the Premier League. Like who knows where they're going to be, but yet they're able to come on and literally play in a system and give their best. And I just think, you really can't. I
think that's where you. Sorry to cut you, but I think that's where Pochettino's had. Is this Pochettino's first season in?
Yeah.
And in all fairness, Klopp's built a philosophy. He's bought it. He's built this philosophy. It's been 6, 7, 8 years going in. Pochettino, he's been given a huge amount of money. He's gone out. He's got players, and ultimately there's a pattern in regards to they're getting all players under the age of 24, and as much as you're going to get those players, you've still got to get that game intelligence, and you've still got to get that philosophy. And what it was with Chelsea, they didn't have anybody who was an organizer in there. Someone who dictate. Like, if you talk about Chelsea teams back in the day, Kante.
Kante.
You had Kante in there. You had who was going in there and organising, and it allowed everyone else to flourish. And that's what I think Palmer needs. He needs someone who's going to take that responsibility and allow him to then express himself. And I think all those Palmer, especially, I think he needs players around him to be able to do that. For Liverpool, in respect to Liverpool, it like you just said, Mr. Dr. Blake, we've got a philosophy. The young lads came in and they knew exactly what they needed to do. We knew that they've got some quality, but in respect of game time and experience, we knew that they were lacking in that department. What I was very surprised at, and Billy, you might want to help me out on this one, in extra time, did they change the system, Chelsea?
Yeah, so from what I could see on the pitch, Pochettino, after going into the changing room, has said, look, let's just soak up pressure. Let's wait this one out. Klopp's put a bunch of kids on. Let's just wait out to the penalty shootout where we'll have a bit more experience than them in that department. And I think it's gone to bite him on the arse with it. I think, for the last 20 minutes, we were looking comfortable with it. Not comfortable with it. We looked like we were getting more chances from it. And then you look crept up with a goal. So
strange tactics, man. Strange tactics. Because, I mean, like I said, some of these academy players, like, there'll be question marks as to where they'll even end up being, or to say at what level they'll end up playing. Probably someone like a Bobby Clark, we can probably see will be a Premier League player, really be good enough for Liverpool. Who knows? But I just think Pochettino is given. It's almost like he's thought to himself, if Klopp's willing to play these guys, they must be of a really elite level, and therefore I've got to give them a level of respect. Whereas actually, he needed to have shown purely disrespect and literally gone after them, pressed, harried, and put them under pressure. And I think there's every chance that they, like, who knows, they may have performed, but they would have found that hard. Whereas it's almost like, and I remember Carragher saying this in commentary, they could just like grow into the game, could get a touch, move it, and it was just super strange. So it's almost like, if I wanted to be a conspiracy theorist here, like, you could almost think that Poch was working for Liverpool. He's done what we wanted him to do. Like, we couldn't have asked him to do anything more. Give these guys time on the ball, a few touches, build into the game, and let them then perform. Whereas if he just stuck it on them and being in their faces, and if we're being honest, in terms of how our forwards were playing, we weren't really going to threaten much in behind. Like, it was, you didn't need to defend so deeply. It was just really, really odd. Just really odd.
I think, you know what, in respect of, do you think Pochettino had faith in the players that coming on in the extra time? Because, like I said, like, you're putting on extra legs. You're putting on players who were fresh. You're putting on 80 million pound winger. It's like we people say about the situation X, Y, and Z, but Pochettino had an 80 million pound winger at his disposal, but he didn't run out of defence once. He didn't go in behind.
I'm so glad you actually said that, Prez. I'm just gonna present the screen that I had before, with the starting lineup. Yeah, with the starting lineup for Chelsea, but also on the subs bench. So it's probably going to extend on what Prez just mentioned as well about Chelsea's starting lineup. I mean, the thing is,
and the thing with Murdic, is he's only looked world class against James Milner last season. Like, he came off the bench against us last season, and he took Milner. It was hard to watch that. Obliterated Milner. I was just like, whoa, Chelsea have got a player. But then he kind of thinks to himself, okay, was he that good, or that just indicate that we needed to actually get rid of Milner ASAP? Who knows? But since then, he seems to have struggled.
So is that a balanced bench for you, Billy? I think offensively, we would have had a right winger. For Chelsea, that is, we would have had a right winger, we would have had a left winger, and we'd have had Nkunku, who can obviously play as the attacking midfielder, as a striker. So I think option-wise, would you have been comfortable with who you had on the bench there?
Yes and no. I think Alfie Gilchrist, I think that's how you pronounce it. I think he's actually been class for Chelsea when he's come on. I wanted to see him come on. It's tough with Nkunku because same with Robertson. He's just come back from injury again, and now he's injured for the third time. Like, Nkunku's just going to be out injured every time we play him, sort of thing. It's going to be another Reece James.
I think his record's been okay before this season, but I just think, him doing he did his knee, didn't he, in pre-season, and maybe he's just still yet to regain fitness after that. And then let's not forget that Madueke was a standout winger in the Dutch league as well. But, like, he was at PSV, right? The PSV was at Feyenoord. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, just quickly, I love Madueke. I want him to start every game. Like, for me personally, as a football fan, or even as a manager, if you want to go that far, I love inverted wingers. I want my right winger to be left-footed, and my left winger to be right-footed. And Madueke is so good at not only just cutting in, but being so direct to the back line. Like, he would have pushed. I don't know. Okay, it's harsh to say he would have pushed Bradley, but he would have kept Bradley back a bit more than. Robertson. I feel like Robertson wouldn't have been able to push as highly, and due to Robertson coming back from injury, Madueke just would have just had that bit more than Robertson, I feel like. But yeah, sorry, quick rant about Madueke. I love it.
No. But it's a good point because he's got attributes, man. Like, he's quick, he's 2-footed, and he was seen as a big talent because he came through the Chelsea system, or was it Palace he came through?
Madueke was Palace, I believe, and then
was it Palace? Okay, and then he's gone into Holland. Then he's okay, cool.
Back. Yeah.
But this is why I think I was talking to a couple of people about, and as I was speaking to a couple of Arsenal supporters who were saying, it was only a League Cup, but it was the League Cup, and I think, like Billy said, and like I think everyone thought that this is Chelsea. Chelsea's going to win a trophy. This is going to be the best opportunity to go and win that trophy. And for people to go out and perform the way, listen, we all need a bit of luck here and there, especially, you got to ride your luck. You got to ride your luck sometimes. But, if you talk about the midfield three that we had in Mac 10, Endo and Gravenberch, and then Harvey Elliott going in there. But then McDonald then came in, and Harvey Elliott went back out wide. And McDonald, did you see McDonald's passing? I mean, his stats in relation to when he came on. He didn't lose the ball. He kept the ball. He kept it moving. He slowed the pace down for us. We controlled the actual possession when he came on. And I think just as a unit, we were brilliant. And for those young players to come on, and like I said, imagine it. You're 17, 18 years old. You come on in the League Cup Final. You've got your supporters singing Elise, Elise, Elise for 10 minutes straight. Like, they must have felt 10 foot tall.
Magical.
It was magical. Absolutely magical. And I don't agree with Mr. Neville's comment regarding. I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to say it because I think it's come totally disrespectful to Chelsea. I did laugh, but it was.
No, it just goes to show how much he hates Liverpool. That comment about Chelsea was his frustration in them not beating us. It wasn't even about Chelsea; it's about us winning. And because you could almost hear the spite in how he said that, in it. They blew something, but I was just like, "Whoa, Neville, steady, mate."
He went in.
It's unprofessional, if anything. Like, it's, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was actually unprofessional. You're right. It was.
You're paid to do a job, to comment on the game and stuff, but to do it in that way, to disrespect. Look, I'm not even saying this as a Chelsea fan. I think if you're a commentator and you're commentating on a game and you're disrespecting any club with those sorts of comments, there's got to be some sort of repercussions for those words, I feel like.
Yeah. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice. It was unprofessional. If anything, it was inappropriate. Like, I mean, the wording he used, and it was just like, it was probably one thing. It was probably, probably people were thinking it, but to say it on national TV, and I think, you know what, Mr. Blake, you saying that, actually, I've actually thought, you know what, yeah, you've got a point. He said that because he had so much hate towards Liverpool.
Yeah, like Liverpool, 100.
Yeah, and his voice was like, "I'm disappointed with Chelsea. I'm just like, well, hold on. Let's give Liverpool a bit of credit here." Yes, Chelsea had these players and you brought these players on. However, Klopp had Klopp had the belief. He believed in these players, these young players who he's seen train day in, day out. He knows what they can do. It's no surprise that he put them on, because when people said, "Oh, we're brave to do it." Well, we've got to be honest. Like, as a footballer, when's the perfect time to be introduced? When's the right time? You know, you're there as a player. I don't even consider them as young players. They're senior players in the first team. And, you know, yes, they're young. However, they must be good enough to be able to train day in, day out with top quality players at a massive top quality football club. So, you know, I think we should have got a little bit of credit for it as well. But listen, I think it was a fantastic day. Fantastic. It was a game. It wasn't a boring game, was it? And I'm still trying to work out or understand the dynamics of why VVD's first goal was offside. And then you go and watch Man United game, and it's the same situation from last night.
And the same ref.
Like, it's like, okay, look, if they're talking about the laws of the game, but it's like, it's all hypothetical. Well, if he wasn't stopped, he would have been in a position to challenge for the ball. Well, hold on, mate. I've got to be honest. Well, we've got to start asking them for the lottery numbers, haven't we? Because it's all hypothetical. Well, if he would have done, he could have possibly done this, and he could have possibly. Where is the hypothetical situation coming to the laws of the game?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, as you were saying as well, Preds. You've got the laws of the game, but then it's subjective, and I think it's similar to what Billy was saying about when Chelsea's goal was chalked off for VAR. It's one of those things now where if our own team score, you're still holding your breath because you're still not too sure whether there's going to be another decision and it's going to change from it. But
now, sorry, just on
Go
that.
ahead.
Normally, I'm super guarded, and we score, and I get excited, and I'll just be waiting just to see, just in case. So yeah, VAR has kind of ruined that for me. But I'll be honest, when VVD scored that goal, there was no thinking about this might get turned off. And every group that I'm in, I was screaming, my captain, just losing it. Never thought it was going to be chalked off. And then when it was, I was just like, these little cheating bastards. Like, how are you? But yeah.
I nearly gave my mother-in-law the biggest scare in the world, because I'm there. All of a sudden, I'm shouting them up and down. But I think Billy's right. Like, you get PST with this. It's ruined the game in regards to you can't celebrate.
Agreed.
You can't celebrate. Like, you have to. It's like it's getting to the point where goal goes in. You go, okay, okay. Well, let's just wait. And then we wait 3 or 4 minutes until they make a decision, and then next thing you know, it's either you're deflated, or if it is given, brilliant. It's like relief.
But in the moment's gone. The moment's gone. Yeah.
And the football is built on the emotion, isn't it? Like the emotion that brings, the emotion that when you score a goal, the emotion when you can see the goal, the emotion when you go up for it. Like, all of that is just being taken out of the game. And in some ways, I agree with what they're doing with VAR. I mean, there are some decisions that needed VAR. But then on the other side of it, it's just, and like you said, it's getting people to be subjective on the game. And it's like,
I don't like it. No, I don't like it at all, personally, because I just think, if you think about some of the world's great goals over history, think about Maradona's against England, for example, and I just think, just imagine watching that goal and seeing one of the greatest pieces of individual skill like the game's ever seen, and you can't even either celebrate, cheer, or cuss if you don't want him to score, because you're thinking to yourself, let me just wait to see if it's going to be given, because during the run, one of the Argentinian players may have blocked someone off. And I just think, football's about the moment and the passion and the magic, and it's not about second guessing if you can celebrate and share that. And I just think, it's the game needs to really think about that for me.
Definitely. So we're in the mid break. We still got a lot of people tuning in as well. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And what I said at the beginning of the show, and we always say, don't forget to tune in. Keep your comments here. We're at the halfway break. Billy, before we came on air, when we were in the green room, you were courteous enough to actually show the link between Liverpool and Chelsea. What's on the reverse side of your Spanish top, sir?
So in honor of the Chelsea and Liverpool, I've got Fernando Torres on the back, number 9.
There you go.
I don't know if you can see it. That's just, I've got a Liverpool shirt. It's got Daniel Sturridge on it, but I won't wear that.
All right, it's one of those things. And so you've got that nice little connection there between Liverpool and Chelsea. And I can obviously see in the background that you've got a series of boots. Are you still currently playing football yourself, Billy?
Yeah, very much so.
What's your boot selection? On your rack behind you, what footwear would you say is your number 1 and number 2 go-to footwear on your rack right there?
Probably the Nike Primate. That's my coat now. That's gone up. Oh, no, my coat's here. There we go.
What colour are you pointing to?
The black ones that should be there above my head.
Okay. That's your number 1s. And what's your second pair?
So I've got the Nike Premiers. They're my go-to. The retro ones with the over-the-top tongue. They're my favourite boots. And then probably the ones down there, the black ones. If you can see it, like very far off. When the corner turns, the Nike Tempos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know if you'll see it because my hand then turns into the ball.
So from your description, you sound like you're a midfielder, then, Billy.
Nah,
you striker.
I'll tell you what. You've got so many boots up there. It's like the United colours of Benetton up there. What's happening to the good old-fashioned black boots?
Do you know what? Preds, I will show you after this. I will show you my football boot bag, and all my football boots that I've got in my actual football bag that I take with me are black Nike black Nike boots.
Tiempo, man.
Right, so when we come off here, we're back in the green room. Billy, don't forget to show us your boot wear. So you're gonna have to try and impress Preds here, right? You didn't get the result on Sunday, so you're gonna have to try and impress him with your footwear. All right. So moving away from Sunday, midweek, Liverpool had another cup competition against Southampton. Third game we played in. So this is the 5th round of the FA Cup, wasn't it? So first game it was Arsenal, and then Norwich, and then Southampton. Team selection, bearing in mind what had actually happened on Sunday. What were your thoughts on the team selection for midweek, Dr. Blake?
So two things or two players came to mind. One, Harvey Elliott. I just think to be a 20-year-old and to have that level of trust from management, even though he's still a young player, like he's only 20, but the fact that he played the full game on Sunday and then was entrusted to then play again and still maintain the intensity, still maintain the pressing. I thought that was a real testament to him. And don't get me wrong, on Sunday he had like for me, like he had a decent game. He wasn't great, but like it was good. But I just think for him to maintain his levels and then to be a standout player again. Yesterday I thought was just top draw from Harvey. But then also as well, then I guess our captain, man, the man who I call Jon Snow, the prince was promised. I just think to myself, when we needed that standout player to join the club and to bring it all together, because I go back to when Klopp first came, and if I'm being honest, there was certainly a sense of hope that we could be good again, rather than actual belief that it would happen. And we had been in the wilderness for so long, we'd qualified for one Champions League in about 5 years. We got to the point where we were having to get Steven Gerrard to be sporting director and text players like Tony Cruz, you want to join Liverpool? Like we were not in a good position. And then in the rebuild job from the technical directors, Klopp being standout. But for me, I just think from the moment Van Dijk signed, and we literally went from a team that had qualified from one Champions League in 5 years, or 2, should I say, and for that Champions League campaign, our first one back, for us to make a final, after he comes in January and joins. I just think the standards that he's set, for me, he's been the on-field captain from the moment he'd come. Forget all the shouting and the former player who just shouted and got the actual glory. He was the one who, from the moment he came, he gave the players around him confidence that they could be excellent. I've not seen a Liverpool player in recent memory have such a positive impact on his teammates as Van Dijk. I just think the confidence that he gives to everyone else. No surprise that look, we saw Joe Matip playing with Lovren, and there was a chance where a period, should I say, where we weren't sure if it was Matip or if it was even Lovren. Van Dijk comes and Matip starts suddenly looking world class. Now, I'm not saying that's purely down to Van Dijk, but I just think his ability to elevate his teammates has been one of the standout features that he's done. And I just think when given the armband, when given the actual limelight to actually show his actual impact, the fact that he comes through in that moment twice, does it once, he's denied, does it again, and then Wednesday, after being absolutely knackered, 32 years old, the oldest centre-back in the club who's currently fit, but yet you knew he was going to be on the team sheet. I just think, Van Dijk, stand out for me. And like, I better stop talking because I'm going to start crying, I think. So,
No problem. Billy, as I know you're part of a lot of forums, as you said at the opening of the show, I know that your knowledge supersedes Chelsea. I know you've got global knowledge. That's why we always welcome you coming on to Cop Talk. Do you think Liverpool supporters and fans are making too much about the current youngsters that are currently playing for the club? And what are your thoughts?
Look, I think the way I see it, if you're a youngster, if you're an academy player or whatever it is, if you're playing for the first team, I will hold you to the same standard I would hold any player wearing my club's badge on his chest. The manager trusts you to perform. It's your job. You're paid to do it. From that aspect of it, you could argue that Liverpool fans may be overrating it. But then I know from a Chelsea fan who hasn't had the blessings of managers or owners wanting youth academy players or wanting to promote youth systems at Chelsea's team, it's a refreshing thing to see, especially with your club, especially with Liverpool Football Club at the minute. You're sitting there, Salah gone, Alisson gone. You're looking at crucial players missing from your team. To know that you've got a youth set up behind you or a bunch of youngsters who are ready to be called up when needed is a breath of fresh air from a Liverpool standpoint and from a football standpoint. I love watching youngsters come through the ranks. I know this is a Liverpool channel. Kobe Minu, I'm absolutely in love with that guy at the minute. The fact that he's 18 years old and holding that club on his chest and performing the way he is at his age, I love to see it.
Agreed.
So from that standpoint and from a football fan with no bias, I can only hold nothing but the utmost respect for Klopp and Liverpool Football Club for what they're doing with the youngsters.
Yeah, I echo that. Pred, so we had Kwanzaa, we had Bradley, we had McConnelly, we had Clark, we had Kumas, Elliott, and Joe Gomez playing as the number 6. What were your thoughts of that? Especially, and what's so interesting? I want to bring something up here as well. Fitzwarren, he mentioned something, and this was ages ago. Remember me saying playing Gomez in central midfield. Now, I'm going to be honest. I absolutely ridiculed that statement. I absolutely laughed at it. I think prior to that, I think it was Bingy had come on one of the show before and actually mentioned about the possibility of Matic playing midfield as well. And my point, it shows how much I know about football. I said, well, look, if they haven't trained, to play in that position, why on earth would you want them to actually play there in a real game? Once again, it shows how much I know about football. I know zero. So that said, What was your
No,
thoughts? on the
Sony, I don't
starting
think
lineup?
you're wrong in that though. Like I think it's a valid point. I just think where you're probably not thinking about it is Gomez has been inverting all season when he's played right back. So he's been positionally moving into midfield. So he's been moving into that space in games, either from the right or from the left. So actually, okay, like he might not be starting in midfield, but when we are in build-up, he actually plays in there. So it's not as far-fetched as what it seems. But yeah, Preds, please.
Well, fair play to Fitzwarren for mentioning it. However, I hope I don't see it again. Because in fairness, if Southampton could have finished, we would have been 3 or 4-0 down, at least 2 or 3 goals down in the first half, in the first 15, 20 minutes. I think they absolutely they passed the ball and manipulated the ball to the point where we had like Gomez was meant to be protecting our back four, and he was nowhere to be seen. He was like chasing shadows. It was only when we actually got a foothold in the game, and even actually in the second half as well. Like he was up pressing in the final third, and where they manipulated the ball and put the ball, they've actually done really well on a few occasions where they actually beat our press. And next thing you know, they've got their winger who's come inside and picked up. How many times did you see they just clipped the ball into the middle of the pitch, and the inside and the winger came in, picked the ball up in that zone, turned and ran out our back four, and it was like, wow. And listen, I think the goalkeeper in the back four done really well. But as I'm not going to say in the back four. As a team, we got opened up quite a few times early on in the game.
Oh yeah, like it was tuna-ish. yeah, it was a kind of tuna. Constantly.
Yeah, it was like thinking to myself, you know, when you like, it's one of those. I'm fearing for the young lads because I'm thinking, you know, they come on in the second half or come on during extra time against Chelsea in the League Cup Final. Then it's like, you know, they've come into now start of this game, and all of a sudden now Southampton's come in and they just actually they've passed it, they've rotated, they've picked, played through lines, and it was, I think to myself, you know what, it was only a combination of good saves from Keller again and poor finishing, which actually actually kept the score level. With Gomez, yeah. It's good. I'm glad that we saw that he played in midfield. Like I said, though, I don't want to see it again. I don't want to see him playing in midfield again. Like playing the right back and inverted inside is totally different to being the holding midfield player, because there were times when he couldn't move. Like the ball was too quick, and he couldn't recover. He couldn't thingy. And it's only when we went 1-0 up that we actually, the whole team actually got a bit of confidence, and we settled down a little bit more, and then he actually got closer to their players. But listen, I think for us to make how many changes did we make? 8 changes. You know, for us to make 8 changes and to be a little bit nervous, but after scoring the first goal and settling down, I think we've done really, really well to come out and win 3-0. And all hats off to Jayden Danns coming off and showing Gakpo the composure and the quality of scoring goals.
He's ready
again. Yeah.
And as he said, we're just through to the next round. Welcome to the show, Best for Live TV. He's confident Manu will beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. All I'll ask you to do, Best for Live TV, thank you very much for tuning into Cop Talk. If you're able to, after the fixture with Man United, we welcome you coming back onto the channel and posting your comments when we are victorious. So we welcome. So 2 cups, EFL Cup. We were victorious against Chelsea. We managed to get the result against Southampton. Next round through with Manchester United, and then we're on to our league games. But before we go on to our league games, we're going to speak very briefly about our away fixture with Nottingham Forest. And because Billy's on the show, Billy, if it's okay with you, we're going to speak about what you think the result will be when you play against Brentford. Some news, whether it's breaking or not. Liverpool supposedly are meant to be back in conversation with Michael Edwards to come back to Liverpool as a sporting director. Before I ask Preds and before I ask Dr. Blake, I'm going to ask Billy something here, right? So currently at Chelsea, I think Chelsea have got 2 sporting directors. I think you got Paul Winstanley and you've got Lawrence Stewart at the moment. I think Winstanley's probably about 45. I think Lawrence is probably about 38. So yeah, probably about the same. So Paul's probably closer to Michael Edwards' age. Even though I know you've had new ownership coming in with Bowley and the rest of his staff, what impact do you think the sporting directors have had at Chelsea? And do you think most of those signings have come from Bowley, or do you think that the signings have actually come with an impact from your sporting directors?
I think it's a bit of both. I think with Bowley coming in and sacking a hell of a lot of the backroom staff and handling stuff himself to begin with and those sorts of bits, I think Bowley has been the main I'd say the main issue with how the recruitment and how the transfers has been handled. But I do think that the sporting directors have definitely had something or had a part of the play in which, Enzo Fernandez, he did well at the World Cup. Let's go buy him. You know, Caicedo's doing well in the league. Let's go buy him. Arsenal are leaked with Mudryk. Let's go buy him. There's nothing. It feels like with Chelsea, we have completely lost our identity at a club. You know, before with Chelsea and with Abramovich, if we were linked with someone, there was a reason we were linked with them. It wasn't because they're popular in the media at that time or they're linked with another club. We wanted that player because we wanted that player. You know, with Fernando Torres, yes, he was very popular, but we wanted him because we wanted another option for our striker role. Shevchenko, he was teetering off the edge of his or end of his career, but we still needed that sort of striker role model. We've looked at our transfer business. Courtois, I think it was 2018 or maybe even more recent than that. He was probably top 5 keepers in the world when we had him. We sold him for 27 million and signed Kepa for 79. He's the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, and that goes to show our recruitment as a whole. It's just been a downward spiral, and with the new owner and the whole identity as the club has just dipped so far.
But don't you think, like, because listen, I come in and I rely on the likes of Stoney, Billy, and Dr. Blake in regards to telling me about, you know, the dynamics of what these individuals bring to the football club, like sporting directors and football technical. But it's like, what's happened to the good old days of, well, the manager thinking, right, well, how's this player going to fit into my team and my philosophy? And now we've gone to a place where a sporting director who's not coaching, who's not on the football pitch, he said, well, if Arsenal want him, well, he must be all right. So let's get him in. Whereas the manager's like, well, why are we getting him in? When in actual fact, we might have 1 or 2 players in the academy or in the under-23 who knows our philosophy, who we've invested time and money in. We're going to ignore them, and we're going to go on a say-so of an individual who has no management or no coaching. This is my difficulty in understanding why, you know, why the sporting directors are earning huge amounts of money and getting a huge amount of responsibility to go and get players to go and fit into a team that they don't manage.
I think so much things now are to do with developing statistical tools now. So even if, as an example, with Michael Edwards that was with us, what he was the sporting director, and him and Ian Graham have obviously left to set up their own organization at the moment, just all to do with data analysis. So I mean, both of them were with us. Michael Edwards was with us as a sporting director, and he said Ian Graham as the director of research. Prior to that, they were both at Tottenham. I think so much things now about data that's where a lot of clubs are reliant upon these specialists. I mean, I was listening to a podcast earlier about Liverpool currently have a throwing specialist, and he's from the same country. He's from the same country as you know, there's a player that played for Everton and Real Madrid. Was it Gravesen? Midfield,
Yeah.
Gravesen?
Yeah.
Was he from Denmark? Was he Danish? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was Danish. Yeah. So this throwing specialist came to Liverpool a few years ago, and everything is about data. When he came to Liverpool, we were 18th in the league in terms of data for throw-ins. When he left, we were first. So I think it's all to do with these margins. Any form of margin, any team can get to capitalize. That's what they're currently looking at. But my original question was, so I asked Billy, and I'm going to present it to Dr. Blake and then Preds. What are your thoughts on Michael Edwards possibly being approached to come back to support Liverpool as a sporting director?
Just on the Edwards question, before I even answer that, just going back to the point you mentioned on data, Arsenal are, I think they're about 5th or 6th in the league for the amount of chances that they have created in open play. Essentially, they struggle to create chances in open play. I think they may be even lower in terms of the percentage of the first and second goals that they create in open play. But what they are deadly at is set pieces. And yes, you might call Arteta Diet Pep, but he's actually a bit more like Diet Tony Pulis right now, because I think they lead the league in set pieces. I think they scored about 20 league goals from set pieces. The year before last, they take the set piece coach from Man City. So I think they've got a system. And this is why, if you actually watch an Arsenal game, for the first 10 minutes, they try and press. If that doesn't work, they sit back into their shape. And then if you make a mistake by overcommitting, they can counter you. But actually, a large part of their goals come from set pieces. Now, why they're so strong defensively is because they play like 5 centre-backs. Like, it's very rare that you see Arsenal get countered. And I think why I mentioned Arsenal, because I think they're a very good example of actually, if you use specialists in the right way, you can actually get quite a big advantage. And I just think, the fact that, because if you had said 3 or 4 years ago, back when Arsenal had that soft touch rep under Wenger and they'd play against the Stokes and they could get bullied and these types of things, if you had said in 2024, Arsenal would be dominating the league for goals scored from set pieces, you'd have said, oh, hell no. So I think it goes to show that when you use data correctly, you can get quite big advantages. And for me, going back to the Michael Edwards point, I think in the modern game, especially when you think about the demands on the managers, the press demands, the media demands, the scrutiny, I think there's so much more to their job now than just being able to, and I think coaching the team and their media duties takes up so much of their actual role that for you to be a well-oiled machine that is functioning, I think you need to create optimal conditions for the managers to succeed. And I just think football's moved on, and just because you are brilliant at coaching players, that doesn't mean that you are brilliant at signing players. I think about Thiago, who currently plays for us. Fergie had lined up a deal for Thiago to sign for Man U. All Moyes had to basically do was green light it. The story goes that Moyes obviously not knowing about Thiago, because why would he? Asks Ryan Giggs what does he think about him, and he asks a few players, and then he decides to not sign Thiago, and then signs Buddy Fellaini. So I just think to yourself, you can't trust these managers' judgments half of the time. You just really can't. And I just think a key reason as to why Liverpool closed the gap was the fact that our recruitment was spot on. And what I just think what you need, it's not just a sporting director. You need a ownership culture that believes in data, so then sets up conditions for those guys who are in the sports science department to actually have a sense of influence. Barcelona have got incredible sports science departments, as is Real Madrid, but they never get used because the chairman will always kind of override it and then decide that actually he wants to just assign the player that's got the most marketing value. So I think if you've got the right people in place and you've got a culture and an ownership model that celebrates what those people can contribute, then I think it's probably the most powerful model to have in football. So for me, I think Michael Edwards is if he could come back, that would be brilliant. I think his body of work speaks for itself, and it's about recognizing that I think managers have got their limitations. We think Klopp's brilliant, rightfully so. But let's be under no illusions. Klopp wanting to keep Jordan Henderson and Fabinho, who both fell off cliffs, but yet they still would have been there if their egos hadn't have got in the way it was, especially in Henderson's way. So I just think that kind of shows you that actually sometimes management, as great as they are, they're not always the best to make decisions about who should stay and who should go.
Perfect. Good way to conclude. Go ahead, Preds.
I kind of disagree with that because, like, the manager knows the team, he knows the players, and he knows what job the player wants, the role and the responsibility that a player is going to play within his system, within his philosophy. Now you're taking that responsibility away by giving it to somebody who, like, listen, Michael Edwards, along with others, they was a bit of a think tank, good old-fashioned boot room. Now they're using this Moneyball situation, Moneyball stats, kind of getting these players in. And surely a manager should be able to go, right, well, you know, managers know football players and, you know, well knowledge about football players and what players they think would fit into their system. It's now getting to the systems of the way now where it is, you can see it at Chelsea now, where there's no consideration whether this player fits in the system. It's just that this player is the flavour of the month. So let's go and get him. You know, because we've got the money, let's go and get them. And I just feel like somewhere along the line, yes, managers need a little bit. They need help or assistance. Actually, not help. They need assistance in other avenues. But when you're talking about the fundamental player on the pitch, the manager surely must be the best person to kind of say, well, you know what? He provides this service. He does this for my team. He makes my team work. So that's probably why he wanted to keep Fabinho and Henderson, because it made it work.
Or was he too emotionally attached to them?
Combination of, isn't it?
Yeah, I've said that over the time where I've said that there's been players that Klopp should have got rid of but he didn't because of this emotional attachment. And yeah, I agree with you on that one. I do agree with you that there are some players that should.
But I do agree with you though, in the sense of it should be the data assisting the manager as opposed to the data being the boss. Yeah. And I think that's where we had it perfect before, that kind of like committee. No player that Klopp wants is signed if he doesn't want that player. But these are your options, and this is why we think you should go for this. But ultimately, it's up to you. Great model. And then Klopp then says, I want it, I don't want it. I just think where the sporting director would have been helpful for Liverpool isn't so much in the recruitment, it's in the retention because of Klopp's loyalty. So you need someone to almost say to Klopp, okay, Jurgen, I know your first girlfriend dumped you and you found it hard to move on in life afterwards, but actually it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Ox is done. Thiago's hip's done. Naby's done. Henderson's done. Fabinho's done. Like, all these guys are done, Klopp. But yet, if it was up to him, they still would have been there. And if you watch the transcripts of Klopp when he's asked about Henderson, he basically says to him, I asked him to stay, but said to him, it's unlikely you're going to play 50 games. Of course, if you are playing brilliantly, you will play those 50 games. And then Henderson, obviously, like in his ego, chose to leave. But like if it's up to Klopp, we still would have had Shouty, man, pointing around and anything on the pitch. And I think to myself, sometimes you need a system that I just think gets the best from everyone.
Yeah,
and we know
definitely.
that Klopp
Definitely.
ain't telling you to go home and you're done now. He's just not doing that. So I think that circumstance, it would have been helpful.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be coming. We're going to be coming to a close soon, but just before we speak about our game against Nottingham Forest, Billy's got a flight to catch to Dubai. So, Billy, listen, from everyone on the show, we just wanted to thank you once again for coming to join in on Cop Talk. You will always be welcome here. We know, we communicate with you away, but we want to make it public. You'll always be welcome here. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your thoughts. Have a safe flight, and we'll catch you up soon. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Stoney, for the opportunity in that. And yeah, when Chelsea gets spanked by Liverpool again, I'll be back to face the problem. So
No
I'll be looking forward to that. Everyone take care.
You be safe, yeah? See you later, Billy. All right.
Be safe. Be safe.
So for Preds and Dr. Blake, our next game fixture is against Nottingham Forest. Now, I'm a little sucker for statistics, right? This is the most bizarre thing here, right? So we're playing at Nottingham Forest's ground, right? Records are there to be broken. The last time we beat Nottingham Forest, listen to this statistic. Oh my goodness gracious. The last time we beat Nottingham Forest at their ground, Kenny Dalglish provided an assist to Ronnie Whelan and Ian Rush. It was 1984.
Damn.
That was 90.
I'll
Ian
tell you,
Rush.
I would have been better not knowing that.
Listen, I'm telling you. So we move into this weekend knowing that we've been victorious in the EFL Cup. We've been victorious in the next stage of the FA Cup, and also with the possibility of some of our first team players coming back in the fold. What are your thoughts on this game? Remove my comments prior to what I was going to say. What are your thoughts on our game against Nottingham Forest this weekend, gentlemen?
Preds.
Mate, you've done a number of me, mate. So I'm like, I do want to know. I'd rather you stop that going, stop the win. Rules are there to be broken.
Oh, my goodness.
I was able to read in between the lines there, but then when you give me the facts, I'm like, oh man. But you know what? I think we've got a bit of a positive momentum going. And I always the analogy, like we're like a snowball. It's just it starts very small and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time it's rolling through. And at the moment, we are getting bigger, and I think the team will be pretty strong. I think, and I think it probably. Well, I've got to be honest. Question marks have got to be. I want to ask you a question. How injured is Núñez? I mean, he was going on like he was doing a 200-meter hurdle the other day. Like, yeah. It's like, get out of the way. Poor Curtis Jones, he's got a boot on. He's hobbling down the stairs, and you've got Núñez, this guy, bam, bam, and he's jumping over the barriers. And I'm thinking, this guy's got to be ready for first team start.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hopefully we'd be strong. And you know what? I wouldn't be adverse to start with the same team that started the League Cup final. But I'm not quite sure of who's available now from the injury list that we've got. I'm not quite sure how close Dominic Szoboszlai is. I'm not quite sure how close Núñez is or Salah. I know Stefan, he's training, but he hasn't been given the green light yet in regards to playing. So again, like I said, I wouldn't be adverse to having the team that starts the Cup.
Dr. Blake.
Yeah,
over to you.
I'm like with Preds, man, I think it makes sense what Klopp's done. Play a stronger team, play a weaker team, and then the first team plays, and then have a bit of a rest. So hopefully one of or both of Mo and Darwin are back. Diaz has had a break. Big up Diaz, because don't get me wrong, I thought his quality was inconsistent, but he never stopped fighting. And I think this is where my frustrations with Cody Gakpo are a little bit. And maybe, it's his personality, it's his demeanor, maybe his stats are saying something else. But see, for me, it's not that I want to see quality from you, because I understand that everyone can have an off game, but I need to see the right mentality. I need to see the right hunger, the intensity, the aggression. And I just felt, if Dan's comes on and doesn't score, he's almost still showed up Gakpo, and that Gakpo's not putting his imprint on the game. And I would be honest, I wouldn't, if there's still a few questions about Szoboszlai and say Elliott needs to play in midfield, fine. But if that's the case, then I wouldn't be against Diaz playing right and Gakpo playing left, but I'd give Dan's a start. I'm not going to lie. I just think, going back to what we were saying about some of our young players, I think there's question marks about their actual quality right now, their actual potential. But I just think that their mentality is spot on, and they're going to give all that their talent offers them right now. And I just think, the way Dan's is playing, I wouldn't be like, if he started on Saturday, I think he does a good job. I think he keeps their centre backs honest. I think he makes the right runs. His link up play is good. He presses well. And I think if he gets a chance, chances are then he might bury it. So that's probably be the one that I would consider if the first team boys aren't back.
Excellent. So I think that's a good analysis from yourself and Preds. Before we close the show, once again, I just want to thank everybody for joining in and tuning into Cop Talk on a Thursday evening. We will return next week, Thursday at 10. I think we'll return to our regular host. Artie's just been away with some other things.
Valentine's weekend, boy. It's been a long Valentine's weekend, but I haven't seen him since Valentine's Day, I swear.
But yeah, hopefully Artie will be back to join us. But next week, Thursday, we will be discussing the outcome of the Nottingham Forest game. And on the Thursday, next week, Thursday, remember in the evening, we return to the Europa League. So we'll be playing Sparta Prague away at 5:45, I think, kickoff.
And then Man City the following weekend, right?
There you go. So there's going to be so much content to speak about next week's show. So Dr. Blake and Preds, I can only thank you once again for setting aside your time to joining us on Cop Talk. Deeply appreciated. We've probably gone over the time that we needed to, but it's still good. Go ahead, Preds.
So sorry to cut you, mate, but can I thank you for telling me about toasting the bun?
Update us. Okay.
Life-changing experience. Yeah.
I come off last week and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm kind of weighing it round. Like, of all these years, I've never done this, but you know what? Let me try it. And I tried it, and I like it.
There you go.
Toasting the bun, yeah. Big up.
There you go. Good.
Gentlemen, toasting the bun with a bit of cheese.
Listen, that's the good thing about this show. We always throw something in just to allow, whether it's the viewers or whether it's the panel, we always leave with something new. So that's perfect. That's perfect. But Dr. Break and Preds, look, we're going to be signing out. Thanks once again. You guys be safe. Thank everybody else for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week.